On this week's episode, we review the new Disney Plus movie Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Also, Top Gun Maverick is coming out to theaters soon. How close was it to coming out on streaming services near you? Also, a child actor, a prankster from the film Jaws. He has become a police chief in the very town that he pranked so many people. Also, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness are multi-likes and dislikes of the film. For the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. That was a mouthful. We'll get to all of it.
Crunch.
Jump.
All right, Jamie, it is so good to be back.
Yeah.
We took a short hiatus.
Yes.
For
I wonder
those
what
who are
happened
not
in
aware,
that time, James. Anything?
let me think.
Let's see, I think
I don't. Oh, my ring's actually gone.
Oh my God! Where's your ring?
My wife is gonna kill me. Long story short, I got married over the weekend, and so our Hub on Hollywood episode was on hiatus. And I was gonna show off my ring right now, but it's in the bathroom. I swear I've not lost it.
All right. Get that back on. Right Allie's not gonna be happy about it.
Oh no!
Congratulations,
what a way to
James! Woohoo!
Thank you so much. It was great for you to be there, too. We saw a lot of family, a lot of friends, and it was a pleasure having you there celebrating the big day with us.
It was a pleasure to be
big
there.
Thank you.
It was so fun. I'm so happy. It's like the Princess Bride. It was, just that much, the true love, happiness, and all that. It was a James fairy tale ending and movie ending, and it was... My gosh, a beautiful backdrop of the ocean, and you guys knocked it out of the park. So congratulations, yay to James.
Thank you. Could not have asked for a better weekend, better weather, and better company. So thank you again. But speaking about good company, let's get reintroduced to this team that we have been apart from for so long. Chip 'n Dale and the Rescue Rangers. Way too long.
Yay! Yeah.
Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale.
Yeah.
I grew up watching this show when it came on the Disney Channel 30 years ago, I guess, and now Disney Plus has brought it back in this unofficial reboot, but in a fun meta kind of way.
Yeah.
But I just learned about this. It came out. It just came out on Disney Plus, but I guess the trailer for it dropped maybe a week or two ago. So this was a pleasant surprise, and very curious of how they were going to be, doing this and the story that they're going to be telling. But the story that we have here has us following Chip and Dale 30 years after their popular television show ended. The Chipmunks live very different lives at this point, but when a cast member from the original series mysteriously disappears, the pair must reunite to save their friend and solve this mystery. And I thought this was really good. The voice acting, we have Andy Samberg, John Mulaney, Will Arnett, J.K. Simmons, Seth Rogen, multiple Seth Rogen appearances in this film.
Yeah, he did a lot of voices.
Yeah. So, did you say you watched the cartoon growing up?
I did, yeah. So I grew up on Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, and watching it at the appointed time, and running down there with my two brothers, and we didn't miss many of the episodes. So I really like that one of the characters is a police officer who is a big fan and knows all the episodes and all the themes and things that happen in the episode. They apply it to this movie. But what's really interesting here, James, is I feel like this is a modern Who Framed Roger Rabbit for millennials,
right,
with the hardcore 90s nostalgia. And because Disney owns everything, now there's references to everything in it. This is more meta than the metaverse. So you've got cartoons living in the real physical world with humans, and the cartoons are sort of drawn in. And now that it's more modern times, you've got the cartoons that have become 3D. They got digital 3D surgery to look 3D, which kind of plays
Dale.
into it's so funny because you've got Baloo from the new Jungle Book who's made himself 3D. You've got is it Dale that becomes 3D, but Chip is still 2D. He's still hand drawn, and I think it was a really smart take on it. So the world building was really good. The Who Framed Roger Rabbit vibes were very much there.
My eyes My eyes were bouncing all over the screen because, of course, you're
Yeah.
following the main characters as they're going about, but in the background, you have so many different cartoons
So
from
many
different TV shows and
references.
movies. And so I have to go through this movie one more time and just watch the background
Yeah.
because, yeah, like you mentioned, Disney owns so many properties that so many were included in this, from like the original classic Disney movies and cartoons to the modern day. And there were
Yeah.
even some other properties that were lent or allowed to be in this movie by other studios that, you know, you really don't see that kind of cooperation. And so
Yeah.
one reviewer said that he was really happy to see, you know, this collaboration that, you know, people thought were long gone. Now that all these studios have different streaming services and are competing with each other, it's cool to see a movie where everybody can, hey, we have a good idea for this character
Yeah.
or for this person in our movie. Can we use it? And seeing that teamwork. And so I think it worked out very well.
Yeah, I mean, there was South Park in there. There was
Yeah.
Morty. There was
Rick
The
and
Simpsons,
Morty.
which the Disney owns, but
Yeah.
Ugly Sonic. Ugly Sonic
Ugly
was one
Sonic
of my
was
favorites.
amazing.
Yeah,
That was one of the best surprises, and
Yeah.
the character played. Ironically, this character had a much bigger role in this movie than its original movie, its original version of Sonic. And so I thought that was hilarious. I love the whole kind of Comic-Con theme of like these old cartoon characters. They're kind of washed up or so. They're not their properties, their copyrights are not that popular, and so they're now on the Comic-Con circuit. And so
Yeah.
seeing Ugly Sonic and him calling himself Ugly Sonic
Yeah.
was hilarious. Yeah, that was great.
because nobody liked his teeth and all that. That was really hilarious. That was really funny.
Yeah, I thought this was a really fun adventure that I think both kids and adults will enjoy. It's the kids who know the modern day characters and movies, and the adults like ourselves, but like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Those characters that we haven't seen for all these years kind of be brought back into the forefront and used in a very fun way. Paula Abdul is also in this movie with what's the cat's name? Scat Cat, or she was in a music video with this cat, and then she dances in it in a scene. So I thought that was fun. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
As we know, this movie came out on Disney Plus, streaming services immediately out. As I mentioned, there's one reviewer that I listen to a lot and watch a lot. He says that he thinks, and I agree with him, that this movie I think could have and maybe should have been released in theaters. I think a lot of people would have enjoyed this and gone to the theater to see this in person, possibly make even more money.
Absolutely. I think it was totally a surprise. There was no real marketing campaign leading up to this, and yet it includes like literally every single Disney property, and like you said, that cross-pollination with the other studios. People love that. People love that. I mean, my only minor criticism is that maybe there was just a little too much, so it was kind of hard to follow the main story, because like you said, you were looking in the back, oh my god, there's that person, oh my god, there's that. But yeah, this would have been great in the theater. And you know what we need? We need more fun movies like this. So they could have made more money that way. However, I feel like they did a really good job of towing the line between it, tackling those realistic themes, but not going too dark. I feel like a lot of movies that are rebooting and becoming 3D, and taking that modern dark take on something that was happy-go-lucky, like they go way too dark. And then it's, your kids leave the theater terrified and traumatized. And, I felt like that with The Jungle Book and a couple of in The Lion King. Like, I felt like it was a little too scary for my kids. Like, this one was just on the line. Everything worked out quickly enough that, my kid wasn't traumatized by it. But how scary was Sweet Pete there?
That was great. And,
Peter Pan.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, Peter Pan is an adult in this version, and he's had quite the rough life, and so he's like the main antagonist of this whole
let
thing.
Himself go.
But I thought the story, because in the age of reboots and everything, and this itself kind of being its own kind of reboot in a way, in a meta kind of way, I think
Very
they did
meta.
it in a right way, and they had a fun time making fun of like the movie industry and its efforts to reboot everything and use and milk its property for all it's worth. I thought Andy Samberg and John Mulaney were excellent for this movie and for their voice acting abilities. John Mulaney in anything is great. Andy Samberg is fantastic as well. So see them both have this kind of buddy cop scenario partnership in this film. I thought they played off each other very well. And if they do have an actual reboot of the show, like, which I'm sure Disney Plus is now going to be considering that if they have not already, I think it would be fun to have them come back in that role.
Yeah.
But
I have a thought though, James. Maybe they didn't release it in theaters because I feel like this movie serves movie geeks. Like, people like you and me, like, we know all of this stuff. And, like, the whole bit with the Uncanny Valley, with the early 2000s animations and the dead eyes. Like, it's all of this meta commentary on movies. And if you're not, like, a movie geek, or, like, you're, into that kind of thing, it might go over people's heads. So I think it was a movie made just for, like, people like you and me.
I respectfully disagree. I do think our generation will really enjoy it and all the characters. Though I think they did enough to explain, saying with the Uncanny Valley, like, in the early 2000s when all these characters looked very real but also very eerie and very wrong at the same time. I think that's enough to, like, you get what that message is, and especially with the Polar Express and with the existence of memes, how the youth speak nowadays. I think it would work. And so it is on Disney Plus right now. If you do have Disney Plus, I recommend watching this. It's only an hour and 25 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And, it's fast paced, it's quick, it's fun. There are some moments where, the characters are put in very dangerous, precarious situations. And there are moments where I'm, like, at the edge of my seat, hoping and everything turns out correct and well for them. And so I think it has enough fun. It pokes fun at itself. It makes a really fun commentary about the industry as a whole, and I think it's good for parents and kids to enjoy and laugh at different things. Maybe kids may not get all the jokes in there, but it's enough for the parents to watch it with them as well. And there's enough for the kids, enough silly wackiness in there that they'll enjoy too. So it gets my recommendation.
Okay. No, I mean, I give it a solid, let's see. I give it a solid 4 out of 5 shirtless Kylo Rens. That was, I was entertained.
High praise.
I was definitely entertained by it. And the nostalgia is real. The nostalgia is really real. It was great.
Well, yeah, let us know what you think.
But James, you know what's not coming to the streaming services anytime soon?
No, and rightfully so. Top Gun Maverick, talking about nostalgia, after 30 years, more than 30 years after the original Top Gun hit theaters, Maverick is coming out in theaters, releasing next week, Friday, and it's one that's coming out, and my fiance and my wife now, are watching in theaters.
That's right, you gotta get with the lingo, man.
Gotta get used to that, but yeah. Top Gun Maverick coming out to theaters, and according to Tom Cruise, there was no way that he was going to allow this movie to debut on streaming services. As we know, it was delayed time and time again because of the pandemic, and of course, we had seen movies that were delayed that were, it's not going to make it into theaters anytime soon. Movie studios went ahead and released them on their streaming services. Tom Cruise, he says, no, I don't make movies for the small screen. I don't make movies for the streaming services. I make them for the big screen, and I make them for the movie-going experience. And that's what he said, and that's, whatever Tom Cruise says goes.
I guess, yeah.
He was interviewed at a recent festival. Is it Cannes? The Cannes Film Festival? And so I guess people asked him, how close was it, for this movie Top Gun Maverick after being delayed? Were you considering had to have this ever released? And he says, no, that's not going to ever happen. Not for this movie and not for any other Tom Cruise movie that he makes, including the Mission Impossible films, which I wholeheartedly agree. These movies are made for the big screen, and they must be enjoyed with an audience, with the rumble in that seats, the surround sound. I don't think there's a Tom Cruise movie.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Look, I know that they're made for the big screen. They're absolutely, that is the best way to experience them, sure. But you gotta give people an option. Not everybody can make it to the theater. There's people with lots of little babies like me that want to see all of these great things and cannot haul these children into the theater, or we will get murdered by all the people who are there trying to enjoy the theater, experience, in its true form. You got to give people a choice. It's not always an option to go to the theater. So that's my take on it. And so I was going to ask you, don't you think that this is like a little bit of an old school way of thinking? Like when digital like music downloads came out and everyone was all up in arms. Oh my God, no, my music, you can't download it digitally. And now that's all that we do. So do you think that this is an old way of thinking?
To use your music analogy, I would say yes and no. When music became popular on the digital platform and it became convenient to download all your songs that you wanted, have it in the palm of your hand, and the way of the vinyl records did see a major dip in popularity. But at the end of the day, guess what bounced back in popularity? Vinyl records. People love something that I think
tangible.
Everybody. I don't want to say everybody agrees, but I think the consensus is, records, especially vinyl records, the music that comes out of those speakers and the way that it's made for that, many people would say it's uncomparable with digital download. And there's something about that feel. And I think, yeah, with the streaming services, it is a different time, a different era, especially with the pandemic. With the streaming services, like with the music digital platform, there's a convenience factor. You don't have to work too hard for it. You don't have to go out and get it, to view it, to listen to it. But at the end of the day, the movie-going experience, I compare it exactly the same. Yeah, it's convenient. Yeah, it's easy to digest here at home. But if you want the full-blown experience, the way that movies were meant to be made, that they were made for, I don't think anything compares to the movie theater experience. And so I respectfully, again, disagree. I think there are movies, there are times and places. I could say maybe, for example, maybe Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I thoroughly enjoyed it here at home on my couch. I don't think seeing it on the big screen would have added that much more weight, or that internal feeling that you get in the movie theater when you feel the rumble, when you're in the seats and you're surrounded by complete darkness and you're watching it with an audience. I think Chip 'n Dale was appropriate and fun and everything else here at home, but that's not a movie that's made for the big screen. Mission Impossible movies, Top Gun, for example. There's a different feeling, a different vibe of those films that can and should only be appreciated in the theater. For example, Avatar. When the first Avatar came out, everybody that saw it in theaters, they may or may not like the story itself, but they unanimously, for the most part, agreed the theater-going experience, seeing it in 3D, was amazing. Now Avatar 2 is coming out. People will wait to see it on TV. Cool. But James Cameron, he made that movie and the rest of these films for the theater-going experience, something that you cannot replicate on your couch. And so I think, certain movies that come straight to streaming services, Netflix, they have their place, and maybe you could say it would have done better in the movie theater. But there's some that you can't replicate that feeling of the whole experience. And so
but tell me how you really
I'm
feel.
on Crew's side.
No, okay.
Don't get me started. But that's how I feel. And to your point too. And this is a new era, and as you said, taking your family to a movie like this, especially with young children, it may not work for certain families. It may not work for the people in the audience being near those certain families, and so I do agree that. There's no way that this is not going to eventually make its way onto streaming services, Top Gun Maverick. And so, there may be the delay. You may have to wait to see it a little bit. That had to be patient, and that's the choice that you make when it comes out to theater exclusively first. My hot take.
Okay. All right. We got competing views here.
Do you think, and we don't have to pick sides, but what do you think? Do you think that movies should only be viewed in the theater when they're released and later released to streaming services, or are you perfectly fine? Like I have a family, I have a busy life, I can't afford to spend the money to go the 20, 30, 40 bucks to go to the movie theater, especially with myself or my family, and the convenience outweighs any theater experience that you would have otherwise. Let us know what you think. Comment down below. We are everywhere on all the social medias. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, @HubOnHollywood. Give us a follow, give us a share, show us some love. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. Hit that smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below, and you can also listen to us on any of the major podcasting streaming services, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts, we are there.
Awesome. And James, I wanted to just say to everyone, thank you for listening to The Hub on Hollywood. We not only talk about movies, but we try to get you into the movies, okay? Especially if you are here in the New England region with us, there are so many films coming here. It's going to be a very busy summer. There's a tremendous amount of projects coming, including a Marvel project, which we don't have the official details on yet. We have casting calls for a number of projects that are currently filming. I also just wanted to give a quick shout out to the 48-hour film project here in Boston. That they had their competition last weekend. They're screening all of the films this week. This is a really incredible project for local filmmakers, of which there is an incredible pool of talent. So basically you have 48 hours, you assemble a team, and you have 2 sleepless nights to create a movie, to create a whole entire movie. So this year, the required elements, you had to have a character named Marty or Martin Shatternick, who is a florist. You had to use a letter as a prop, and you had to have the line, "Who said that?" And these films are going to be screening at the Somerville Theater in Davis Square Monday and Tuesday. There's dozens of entries, amazing talent, really creative and tired people who I hope have caught up on their sleep now. But we're hoping to chat with the organizers of this event. Look out for that in the next couple of episodes. But we also have a number of casting calls for films that are already here. Big feature films. Get on that big giant silver screen that James loves. And James, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have CP Casting. We're looking for men 18 to 28 years old to portray professional athletes for a movie. This is for the feature film that's titled Tire Town, which is the new Zendaya movie, correct?
That is the Zendaya movie, that's right.
Yeah, so this is a paid gig for a major feature film that's shooting on May 27th on Friday here in Massachusetts. And these roles do require nudity, so keep that in mind. But if you are a man between 18 and 28 years old looking to portray a professional athlete, you should send your name, phone number, where you live right now, recent photos, no nudity, don't include any nude photos in this email, but recent photos of yourself. Yeah, in the submission, so face, body, but with clothes on, and you must be available for May 27th. Send all that to tiretown.casting@gmail.com.
I don't know what it is about these Zendaya projects, but there is a lot of full frontal male nudity. Have you watched Euphoria?
I haven't, but I've heard a lot.
It's all dangalangers and boing-boings, and it's all.
Hey, it's about time. After a century of women bearing it all, I think it's time for the men to share the screen.
Damn straight. Okay, here we go. Also for the Zendaya movie, here's a casting call. Also for Zendaya, the tennis movie. CP Casting is looking for men and women 18 to 28 who are experienced tennis players. Not like, I just play in my backyard every now and then. Like, no, you need to have been on a team and you know what you're doing. This is for work on June 6th through the 10th in Norton, Massachusetts. They want your name, phone number, where you live, recent photos, and details of your tennis experience. You got to be available for all those days. And send that to tiretowncasting@gmail.com.
Okay, and sleigh casting, we're looking for moms and kids between 5 and 7 years old for an upcoming commercial. This is a non-union gig, and so they're searching for moms and kids between 5 and 7 years old, siblings between 5 and 7. This pays up to $2,000 per person if cast, and shooting will be taking place in East Boston, and you must be available for between May 31st and June 2nd. Now, if you have a local agent, you do not need to submit an email, but they are working directly with local agents on this project. But if you are interested, email slateselftape2, the number 2, slateselftape2@gmail.com with name, ages of kids, contact information, a few current photos, where you live, which city, which town you reside in New England. You must be a local. Guardians must be fully vaccinated, and you'll be contacted, but send all that information to slateselftape2@gmail.com.
Awesome. And then Boston Casting is working on a film called Finest Kind, starring Jenna Ortega. They have various availabilities for background, so you're going to want to go on bostoncasting.com and sign up with them. You can sign up for free to get those notifications. Finest Kind wrapping up in a couple of weeks. So films are being made much more quickly nowadays, James. So they wrap up pretty quick sometimes. But like I said, there are a number of really big productions that are on its way to the New England region. Boston Casting is taking a lead on a lot of them. So now is the time to sign up for Boston Casting, guys. And that is all of the casting calls that we have for today.
All right, and talking about, local filming and filming in Massachusetts and New England, this is a great story that hit national, airwaves all around. Jaws, as we know, was famously filmed here by the Cape, right?
That's right, out on Martha's Vineyard, out in that area.
Yeah, and so there's this child actor. If you've seen Jaws, if you haven't seen Jaws, stop everything and watch that right now.
What is wrong with you?
Jaws,
Where have you been?
Only the first Jaws. Yeah, you only need to see the first one.
Yeah, you don't need the other ones.
But the child actor. There's two child actors in that film, and one of them, you may recognize them as the kids who play that prank. They have like the fake shark fin, and they scare everybody out of the beach, out of the water, and then they get reprimanded or whatnot. Well, one of those child actors, he has become the police chief in the same town where the movie was filmed in Oak Bluffs. Jonathan Searle. Yeah, congratulations, Jonathan Searle. He's been, working towards this position to be the police chief for a long time. He was recently interviewed, and he says that he is clearly elated and humbled and honored to have been offered the position as police chief. Again, something that he's been working toward his whole life. And so it's funny and ironic that a kid who is known for being the biggest prankster in the area for the longest time is now the law and order, the top cop in Oak Bluffs. And so big congratulations to him.
Did anyone tactlessly ask him what his shark protection policy is going to be like?
If he doesn't have one, he better have one now. But he's hoping for much calmer waters and a much calmer experience during his time as police chief. But
that's great.
A really great thing. I think we should try to, we'll shoot out an email, give a call, and hopefully Jonathan Searle will be available for a quick interview, because that's amazing. Who would have thought that? Again, a kid being cast in this movie, one of the best movies in film history, and now he's not only known all around the world, but now he's known as the police chief of Oak Bluff. So big kudos to Jonathan Searle.
Big kudos to him and all of the little local actors that we have here with fantastic talent and potential, and we just love you all. Mwah. Subscribe. Anyways.
Yeah.
And finally, James, on this jam-packed episode of The Hub on Hollywood, a little movie came out recently. I don't know if you heard about it. Doctor Strange and and something. Was it? Did
that come out?
Yeah.
Did that come out?
Yeah.
I haven't heard much. I'm kidding. No, everybody's heard all around the world. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It came out 2 weeks ago. And has since grossed well over $500 million. I think it's nearing that $1 billion mark, but extremely popular. Mixed reviews all around, too. But for the most part, I think it was a solid movie. But we're not here to review the entire movie. We are here to give our multi-likes and dislikes of the film. Directed by Sam Raimi, starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen. And so, Jamie, I have my list of likes and dislikes. How about you go first with your first?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I like that it was directed by Sam Raimi. You definitely got the campiness, the cartooniness. I don't know how well it fit with the horror theme. I think maybe it fit kind of well. Because you have those horror elements, but it's got like that cartoon feel to it. It was definitely different from the other Doctor Strange movies, but I think it works. I think that in that part of it, the way it was colored, the way that the action was choreographed, the way that the story kind of flowed, I think it worked. I think it worked well. So I'm happy to get that Sam Raimi feel out of it. So, what's your first like?
That's my first like as well. Sam Raimi directing this and bringing that horror aspect into it. And Sam Raimi wasn't the first director hired for this movie, but he stepped in, and I think it was the best person to take the mantle of the director position for this film. As you mentioned, Sam Raimi is known for incorporating horror movies. He's made several, kind of like those wacky horror genres, I'm blanking on the film, but with Bruce Campbell. But at the same time, he was able to, incorporate horror aspects that we've seen in other movies. Most famously in Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, there is that notorious and great scene involving Doc Ock when he's in the operating room, and he has that horror when all the tentacles are attacking all the doctors and everything. That's pure Sam Raimi horror, and we saw a lot of that, a lot of gross, grotesque, creepy factors in this film, and I thought he was an excellent director for filming Marvel's first horror film. And so that goes to my number one. My number two thing that I like the most about this film, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, as Scarlet Witch. She, say what you will about, character traits in this movie, some that I've evolved with and some that I agree and disagree with, but for the most part, Elizabeth Olsen owns this role as Wanda and the Scarlet Witch. I thought she was phenomenal. You can feel the passion, you can feel the pain, you can feel everything that this character is conveying through her work. And so she's a bright star in the MCU right now. I wasn't the biggest fan when she was introduced. Not that I didn't like her character when she was introduced in Age of Ultron, but her progression with this character and the arc that we've seen has, and I think could only be carried and done in such a great way by Elizabeth Olsen. So she won me over, and I thought she did a fantastic job in this role.
Awesome. So my number two was also Wanda related. It's Wanda and Wanda, where you had just normal mom Wanda versus freaking out like Scarlet Witch Wanda, and them communicating with each other. And her just flipping out on the Illuminati, which brings me to my number three, but which is actually my number one, which is the cameos, which were the big cameos. We've got John Krasinski, head of the Fantastic Four, as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, and the head of the Illuminati. He's supposed to be the smartest guy in the universe. How does he let himself get turned into ribbons? I don't know. But John Krasinski actually tweeted out a couple days ago, finally acknowledging his role. He said, all right, just wrapped, I guess, on a movie that he's working on. He's like, I'm back in town and headed to the movies. Anything I should see? And people are tweeting back, well, there's this little movie called The Multiverse of Madness. So he hasn't really addressed
and he responded
it directly.
With fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. Exactly. So very clever on his part. But we also got the Maria Rambeau version of Captain Marvel, who's the Founder's Sword, Monica Rambeau's mother, who we see in WandaVision, and, of course, the biggest one, of course, Professor X!
Yeah.
So the X-Men are
Patrick
officially
Stewart.
There. Patrick Stewart,
I love
they
the
dragged
intro.
him out for this.
I love the music. So he had the original X-Men from the cartoon music from the 90s cartoon show. And so that X-Men, the musical transition, when he popped in, my inner nerd geek exploded. Because that was because in the trailer we knew Professor X was coming, but we didn't know which version or what sort. So this looks like to have been the cartoon version with his yellow floating wheelchair. But when that music played, that was definitely a highlight.
God, and it's the best part about movie going. at least in the theater I was in, because everyone was cheering and everyone was yelling and clapping, and like that is just the best part, when everyone is there for the same reason and we know what's up and you get what you wanted and everyone's cheering. So that was, we got that moment there with Doctor Strange. So I'm happy about that.
Not to beat a dead horse, but you would not have heard that cheering at home on a couch. But onto my third number like. Talking about the Illuminati, I love the dark death scenes. Like, that's the Sam Raimi horror aspect that I also love too.
And then they all get wiped out.
The deaths were brutal. The one, the headcanon in my mind as to why Mr. Fantastic seems so dumb in the moment, saying, Black Bolt, he can kill you with just by opening his mouth, or whatever the line was. And then Wanda goes, what mouth? What I would say, that was a very dumb move. However, in this universe, their version of Wanda is a stay-at-home mom. She seems more centered and well-adjusted and a little more reasonable. And they said, we're not concerned about a witch, because in their mind, they've already dealt with a witch. They've dealt with Wanda. She's not a problem. Mm-hmm. However, they're not used to 616 Wanda, 616 Scarlet Witch, which is taking nobody prisoner. And so that's my kind of a justification of like, okay, they really underestimated this version of Wanda. They did not see that coming. And so the death scenes, especially with Black Bolt bursting his own head, that was amazing. Mr. Fantastic being stringed into like string cheese, that was brutal. And then Captain Carter
Professor X.
Yeah, Professor X getting his head not only snapped, but ripped off. People have like done frame by frame, and his head was ripped off.
My
and so
God.
I thought that was really cool. So the death scenes were definitely my likes. But let's get into the things that we didn't like so much. One thing that I didn't like so much, and I'm not knocking the actress at all, but the character America Chavez, I didn't feel that much attachment. I didn't feel that engaged with that character. So hopefully in the next movies they build more on her, because I think in the comics and in the storyline, I think it makes sense to have this character that can punch through different multiverses, and it's interesting to see what they can do with that in the future. I just didn't feel that much of attachment that I think the movie makers were hoping that you would grow with this character. So
she didn't feel like scared and distressed in a way that you would imagine that a young teenager would be scared and distressed. Like, it didn't feel real. Like, it felt very 2D. It didn't feel very three-dimensional, and it kind of felt like there was so much in this movie that they had to really shoehorn in that character development with, like, that one world where you step on the star and you see your memories and you see the memory of her losing her moms, and it just felt written, you know what I mean? It didn't feel real. So, I agree with you there. And that leads me to my first criticism, too, which is the alternate universes. The alternate universes didn't feel real either. They felt like movie sets. They're like, okay, everything's white here, and, everyone's wearing gray, and, like, there was no real texture, there was no real character to these places. It didn't feel like a real or dangerous place. I didn't like the multiverses. There wasn't enough there. I guess you can argue that they're just supposed to be a backdrop, but if you made it more of a character, that would increase my anxiety, for the characters a little bit. So, anyways, what about you?
That leads me into my second thing that I didn't like. Not enough multiverse of madness. We got several multiverses, but I didn't feel the madness. I was, again, people have their expectations of what they want to see or what they hope to see. And, if the title of the movie is called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we got multiverses, but I didn't really feel that.
Feel the madness.
Didn't feel the madness, and so I was hoping to have seen more of that, and for my mind to be more blown away, not like Black Bolt, but a little more blown away. I would have liked that. So that was a little bit of a downer, but it didn't ruin the whole thing for me. But my final,
go for it.
My final dislike of the movie, and we see this with many, many movies. Like, you heard of the MacGuffin, the item that all the characters are searching for, that they're all fighting for to get, and once they get it, they win, or that leads to their next step or their next stage. The MacGuffin. The MacGuffin of this movie was the Book of Vishanti, the thing that would help them defeat Wanda or to set this whole thing straight. When they finally got to it at the very end, it was destroyed, and it really had no impact impact to the movie. Like literally, you could have removed that book from the whole movie and the whole chasing. That's what led to the whole multiverses, and running from this place to that place. But you have a MacGuffin, use it, And so at the very end, they're chasing after this thing. At the very end, it played absolutely no role in the film whatsoever. It had no real impact to it. And so that I didn't like. MacGuffins in general have their own place for their own movies or whatnot. This one, I didn't think they used it well. I didn't think they needed it. It was just something that we need characters to run from one multiverse to another to chase this thing. I think that could have been handled a little bit better.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I didn't even think of that. But my last criticism here, James, we got great cameos, but there are other ones we should have gotten, or the cameos that we didn't get. We didn't get Tom Cruise as Iron Man. We didn't get Loki.
Yeah.
Go for
apparently, it. Many people were speculating that we were going to see the Supreme version of Iron Man, which would have been Tom Cruise, which would have been kind of like an inside joke because in the 90s, when there was talk about the Avengers, like making those movies back then, Tom Cruise was the idea person to cast that role as Iron Man. So, and there were leaks and photos and people were theorizing, but apparently the movie makers themselves, even Sam Raimi said, Tom Cruise was never going to be in the movie. Like they never had cut scenes. They never really planned for that. I guess there was that talk, but Tom Cruise is busy making his own movies, but there weren't real steps taken to put him in this movie, and so it was all fan theory, which led to nothing. So that was a little disappointment. But apparently he wasn't supposed to be in it at all. But that goes, that's shame on the fans for theorizing and throwing everything. All the spaghetti.
We tried to make it happen.
Tried to make it happen. I would have loved to have seen Tom Cruise in it. Loki as well.
Yeah, there was no Loki, no Sylvie, no Kang the Conqueror. Like, all of those things were related to the multiverse, and I feel like should have been in there. If we've got... Yeah. It should have been a part. It should have played a part and tie all of that together. So that's my final criticism. What did you guys love? What did you guys hate about the multiverse of madness? Did it drive you mad? It drove us mad a little bit. Let us know on the Hub on Hollywood. We would love to have a conversation with you. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on the TikToks. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere you want to be. You can listen to us on the streaming services. You can find us on YouTube. Come out, man. Come out. Have a talk with us.
Join the fun.
Because we have nothing better to do with our lives. So, James, we covered a lot of ground. Anything else you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think I just might go see Chip and Dale again one more time because, again, as I said, so many characters in that movie. I need to watch the background. Yeah. So let us know what you think about Chip and Dale. Top Gun Maverick, do you plan to see it in theaters? Are you going to wait? Are you going to see it at home in the comfort of your couch? And, again, a big kudos again to Jonathan Searle for becoming police chief of Oak Bluffs in the very town where Jaws was filmed. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's Hub on Hollywood. We'll see you next week with more movies, more reviews, and more New England, Massachusetts movie industry happenings.
Yeah, exactly.
For the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See you next time.
Bye.